Hello and welcome to another episode of KenTraining. In an effort to do a better job, I ended up purchasing a pneumatic air stapler. I got this rigid one here, and I purchased a couple of crown staples for it. These ones here are 3/4 of an inch with a 1/4 inch crown and 18 gauge, and then these ones over here are 1.5 inch with a 1/4 inch crown. And these are going to be for these ones here, these staples here. This is what they look like. It's my first time working with crown staples, but basically these are going to be for attaching the frame to the drywall, and the larger 1.5 inch ones are going to be for attaching the recore to the drywall. I got my air compressor here, but it ended up breaking right there, and it's 10 years old, so I got to purchase another one. I'm not even going to try to fix it. It's just not worth it. But I like these little hot dog air compressors. They're nice, easy to move around. I was going to do one more test to simulate as much real world as possible. So I took a couple of 2x2s right there, and I went to the Home Depot, went to the drywall scrap section, and I found this in there. Never worked with this particular drywall before. It's a Fire Code X. Let me tell you, it's my first time handling this stuff. This stuff is heavy. It's really heavy compared to standard drywall. So I just got a couple of sheets of it, and they gave it to me at 70% off because it was in the damaged section, and I didn't need the rest. I'm just going to probably just use this one. Now, I'm getting ready to pull. I'm pulling this off, so I'm just going to show you what it's like when you have it on the wall and you want to pull it off, or at least how I'm doing it. And but it kind of is not reusable once you pull it out of the frame. It's basically not reusable. But let me show you that. Alright, I've been doing some research on how to do a low leg with a seam and how to integrate those two. That was the one that I screwed up on the last one. This is what it's supposed to look like when you do it that way. So you can see there. Now on this particular one, I think what they did was they cut it right there. There's a seam. I'm gonna see if I can do it without that seam. This is what that final product would look like, which is a nice clean look. That's what we're going for this next sample. So we want to try to figure out this. I should mention, working with this product, with this FabricMate product, the most difficult part of the whole thing is just determining how to do the cuts and how to make your seams. The stuff in the field is easy. Everything is the corners, the edges, and seams, and how that integrates, making sure that you have the right product and you're performing the right cuts and the right locations to have the correct look that you're going for. That's the most difficult part about this whole process with working with FabricMate, is going through the learning curve to determine what design you're trying to accomplish, what's your frame, how that frame is going to fit together, and how you integrate all of your corners and seams in your frames, and what your frame material is made out of. That's the most challenging part of this whole project. So let's see if I can do this on this particular workbench test here to see if I can get this going. what's happening here is you need where this terminates here to be in the same plane as this edge here. So when it does the turn, there's not a gap there. So I need this to come over more. And I think that I can actually do that if I cut this coming down a little bit. So, all right, there it is. I actually think I got it. It's pretty damn close, or as close as I think I can, as I'm gonna get it. Possibly, oops. Yeah, possibly I would just need to round this off a little bit, maybe. But it's very, I think right there is where it is. And basically, and I did this with this not being broken. This is all just still one piece, one monolithic piece that I just notched out the heck out of, and brought this one into the notch. And I believe that I could now accomplish that look. I now believe that it will terminate and look like this once the fabric is on, is what this seam will look like if I was to put this in. I'm just practicing my notches here to try to figure this out to make sure I got it down, but I think that that would work. So when we get the staple gun and the air compressor working, we'll put this in and we'll test it out. Here's the next seam that we can test. Now we know that we can do this seam like this and have pretty good results, but you do have this section on the side here. My thing that I'm going to wonder now is if I can do the same thing with that other one, leave this one as one continuous piece, take the seam and put it inside here. So what we'll do is we'll remove this piece and we'll remove this piece here, and we'll see if we can't put this notch somewhere in here and try to do this, replicate this same type of a seam, but here in the middle of the of this piece right here. So I'm going to take this apart. Okay, this is the two pieces that I just took off of the frame, and then I remembered when I saw this is that I put a V-notch in there for a relief cut for the fabric. This is the one that I just demonstrated with the low leg onto the top leg here, the one for the 1-inch recore, and I did not put a relief V-cut in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, pretty much so that this piece here kind of will look like this one here. So this way, when you do that corner, there'll be a relief for the fabric to go into, hypothetically. Actually, that's a pretty good simulation right there. So it'll be just like that. So this is the one that I just cut up for it though. But pretty much I'm just going to be replicating. Okay, you know what I'll do? Instead of doing it that way, I'll use this piece here since it's actually the same piece. What I'll do is I'll put this on one side of the joint, and I'll take this and put this on the other side. And we'll do it like this. So my notch section will be over here somewhere. Again, I'm just kind of playing around with this just to try to learn how to work with it. So this way, on this side of the fabric, you'll have a low leg, and on this side of the fabric, you'll have a raised leg. Alright, basically this is what the seam looks like. Leaving this as one piece, not cutting it through all the way. And basically it's just a matter of using your utility knife and your cutters and whittling away the section that you want in order to get it the way you want. Now when I put this in, I'm going to make sure I leave a gap there and pretty much just put it in kind of like that. And this is what the other side looks like. I'm going to make sure, when I did this job, I kind of took the V-notch away here, so I'm going to reestablish that right now to make sure it's a nice V-notch like that. And then we'll put this in later. Alright, so let me show you me making the V-notch, so a better V-notch for this. I'm going to come up here, stick that in there like that. I'm going to grab it back here, like this. And you see the nice V-notch I got there now, which is the relief cut for the fabric. Let me see if I can redo this one at all. Because you're going to have excess fabric in the corners at the seams. So you want to allow for that fabric. You got to have a place for it to go. Otherwise it's just going to bunch up. This is all hidden. This particular piece is hidden anyways. You don't see it on the final product. So there, I got a decent relief cut there and a very nice relief cut there. And those are good to go. This whole process is with you trying to get the cuts right. That's the hardest part of this whole process. So in this particular case, you notice how I have, when you put the fabric here, see that gap right there? That would be like an incorrect cut. So on this particular piece here, going with 245s with this one coming in is not the correct approach. The correct approach would be to have 145 here and then this one here to be a flat cut. And quite honestly, I think it's probably just too difficult to do it without making a seam without making a cut seam right there. It's very difficult to do that. What's going to happen is that when you put your fabric in, your Recore material, you're going to have that gap and that will show up. By the way, speaking about the Recore, when you cut it, you'll notice I actually cut this one at a slight angle, beveled, going this way. Now if I was to install this like this, even though it is up against the frame here, there's a gap here. That gap is no good. That gap is clearly going to show through. So when you cut your Recore, you want to make sure that if anything, you might be even slightly beveled this way. So I'm just going to turn this over just for an illustration purposes. The point is that you want tight gaps here and here when you do this. So this one needs to be redone. Now, on the other side, it's a little bit different the way that I notched this one out. I did do a 45 there, but I did do a flat cut there. So this one is a little bit better. So when you put your fabric here, not your fabric, your Recore material. See now, look here. There's a gap here too. Same thing. Let me just turn this over like this so it's in tight. Now, let's see how well this would, if this was actually a field cut, what this would look like. That's not terrible, but these are all things that you want to be aware of. You want to try to keep, ideally, you would want these two portions right here to be physically touching. I can't even do it, but like this. When I use the tool to make the cut, when I use this tool here, the material walks on you a little bit, and I can see that it didn't cut it like straight down. It actually, the blade kind of walked in this way, and that is what is creating that gap right there. So again, trying not to do a seam here is actually, it's just going to be more time to try to create this perfect cut without that seam right there. It'd be much easier to just trim this out, making a cut there and then flat cutting this one here, rather than trying to do this with just one monolithic piece and then just trying to notch it in. It's going to take too much time, and you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So I'm going to do some more testing here to see how well I can do just with making a clean cut and then making the correct notches here. I pulled out this section here. This was off of the first one that I built, but it would have come out. This one did come out pretty good, but I'm just going to do it again on this next test piece, just trying to get everything, all my joints just as perfect as I can be. Oh, by the way, I should mention here, when you do a corner like this, I really should have cut this piece and this piece at 45-degree angles, so that this piece here came out and then squared off. So when you put your recore on, it would have been perfect. I did notch out my recore, but you'll get better results with straight cuts on this, and I mean with 45-degree cuts here and straight cuts on your recore, it would have been a better result. So we'll try and do that on the next one too. All right, now I'm going to use my pneumatic staple gun, rigid, with these 1/4 inch 18 gauge staples, which are 3/4 of an inch long. Okay. Now, when I first started out using this gun, I started out on this piece right here, first time I ever did it, and I noticed what it was doing was it was breaking the plastic as I was putting the staples in. So then I went over to my air compressor, and I'm just using this Hot Dog Husky air compressor that I got at the Home Depot, and the tank pressure here was going up to the red line there, which is about 120 psi, and the regulator was set, and it was set to be about 120 psi as well, and that was just too much for that plastic. So I tried to adjust the regulator on my air compressor, which is this red knob right here, and the thing is just spinning. So this thing here is stripped out from Husky, kind of a pain. So when you turn this, it actually isn't turning the adjustment. So I had to use a wrench right here. But I adjusted it, and I got it down to a tank pressure of about 90 psi. Excuse me, a regulated pressure of 90 psi. Your tank pressure is over here. That's going to cycle and maintain a minimum of 90 psi. And that's that. Oh, by the way, there's the spec on the air compressor. 8 gallon, 4 SCFM, 1.5 horsepower. Okay. Now, let's go over here and let me go ahead and put this piece in right here to show you what it looks like with these staples. Alright, so I'm going to put this piece in. I'll put it in upside down so that you don't get shadowing. And I'm going to put it at the same level as the other piece that I put in. So here it is, going in with the air compressor. This particular drywall is a 1/2 inch drywall, and that's just 3 staples like that, and that's in there pretty good. And so basically that's what it looks like with 90 psi. They're just about flush. That little bit of crown that's on there I'm not really worried about. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change out the staples on here so we can put some recore material up against this with the staple gun and show you what that's all about. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just pull out the air pressure. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing in the gun. Just do a dry fire, nothing. I'm going to pull out these staples. On this particular gun, the release is underneath. Pull out like this. And then here's the staples that I put in there, which are the 7/8. Now, excuse me, 3/4. Now I've got these ones here, which are 1.5 inches. Okay, so these are 1.5 inch staples. I'm just going to get one section of these 1.5 inches right here. Okay, and I'm going to load the gun. So when you load the gun, of course you want your staples facing out so that the bottom crown portion is going into the gun. Bring that down, and then there's spring tension on these guns, and then it just locks into place. Now we'll go ahead and put our air in here. We have 90 psi on here. Let's see how well the Recore material does at 90 psi, and let's try that. It's actually pretty good. So you can see this. You can see the slight head there. It recesses in just slightly, but I think once the fabric goes over this, I don't think I'm going to have any. When you buy the when you buy the FabricMate starter kit, it comes with a staple removal tool. This here is what it looks like, and I've never used it before. So let's just go ahead and put it in here to try to remove a staple. It's actually not so bad. This is what the 1.5 inch staples look like, and just pulling them out of the Recore material. If you made a mistake and you needed to pull out some staples, you could do that and reuse your Recore material. And if you wanted to pull out the staples on this here, I don't think you're going to be able to do it. You know what I did was I bent it up, put this underneath, and just kind of used it as a fulcrum to pull it out. This is what it looks like close up with the staples in it. That's what the side profile looks like to show you how much they buried in at 90 psi. 3/4 inch staples going into 1/2 inch drywall. Point is that what you need to do is you need to do some test strips with your drywall and your pressure settings to determine if you got everything correct, to make sure that you're not breaking this up, that your staples are sitting appropriately and stuff like that. So you just want to make sure that your settings are you're testing out your settings and adjusting appropriately as needed in order to get the correct finish that you're looking for. Okay, now I want to build something similar to this over here, and this one over here is using the tall leg here all the way around for the perimeter. What I'm going to do for this next sample piece is I want to utilize a tall leg here, and on the seam piece, but this piece over here, I'm going to put it as a low leg. I wanted to utilize this leg, this piece here, as the seam piece, and you'll notice that it's a little bit shy, so I cannot just utilize this piece here for the top piece. I'm going to have to take this piece and cut it off by something shorter than whatever that distance is. Okay, so for this joint, you'll notice that that's not bad, but there is a gap right there. I'm going to recut this at 45 degrees to see if I can cinch that up a little bit better. You see there, that didn't cut squarely. You can still see that. I might be able to clean that up. Okay, now that I've ruined the notch just a little bit, I want to see if I can't clean up the notch. So let me try and clean that up a little bit. Alright, let's see how well this does. Alright, this is the one we just cleaned up. You'll see there's still a small gap there, but I don't want to recut it because I'm lazy and I'm just going to end up living with it. So, and my distance here is so tight now I can't even get my speed square in here to determine if I've got a 90-degree here or not. So that's, you know what I can do? So I can just take my level on the bottom and I can just make sure it's level this way when I go to put it in. But before I do that, I do need to make the other side the correct length. You see here, when I go to put this in, my speed square is so tall that it won't fit in here properly. It won't give me the correct sizing that I'm looking for. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I can do it this way. You know what? I can do it like this. Usually I was capturing it here on this ridge, but I'm fine to capture it here. Look at that. That chipped off even with that pressure of 90 psi. Maybe 90 is even too much. Okay, but the point is that this is all good. This joint here is good. The problem that I have now is that I'm going to be too long. This side is too long compared to this. So what I'm going to do is take this up here, bring it over to here, match that length, and then cut and mark this so I can cut that at 45 degrees. I'm going to do that right now. Now that I've cut this, I do need to re-notch it, but before I re-notch it, let me verify that the fit is good. Okay, so this is the one, this is the side that I just cut. I measured it from here, just flushed that out like this. Come over to here. Pretty much it's perfect. We're fine. We're gonna go ahead and notch this out right now. Okay, now what I've got is I've got a low leg that again, this is just, I'm just experimenting and playing around. But I want to put a low leg right here coming down. So what I want to do is, first of all, I guess I should make sure that I'm nice and level once these two pieces come in. And according to the level, it's off by about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. This could be trimmed up here to make that up, but for now I'm just going to leave that. Okay, so now I need a good 45-degree angle here in order to go on to here. And that looks like I've got a pretty good 45-degree angle here. Now I need to cut this one here at a 45-degree angle here to make up this piece right here. Now, the way that I want to do that is I'm going to turn it around. Let's see, is that the way I want to do it? Or maybe I could just do it like this. What I'm going to do is just take this bottom piece here, hold it approximately to where it should be, hold this up against there, and now I'm going to mark this cut. And it needs to go like that. There's my mark. I know that I need to come in here, cut this like this, and square that off, which is right there. Hold it down with my clamp to make sure it doesn't walk on me. Let's go see if I got a clean cut here. It's not bad. Let me just take a look at that. This outside edge needs to be trimmed. I can do that with the utility knife. I can square this one down definitely with the utility knife. But this overall is not bad. This needs to be rounded out here too, which I can take care of. Alright, so I need to do a little bit of trimming here with the utility knife, but my 45's here and here and here, so when the recore goes in, it'll sit pretty good in here. So all of that is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a utility knife and trim this out. Okay, first I'm going to show you in detail how I do this top notching as best I can. I'm going to give a little bit of a notch right here on this piece. Alright, that's pretty much it. There's a little bit of a notch in here, right here. I want to take off. Let me see if I can do this without cutting myself. Okay, pretty much that's it. This section of the joint is fine. Let's focus on the bottom section now. Alright, here's the bottom section, and you'll see right here, I don't want this here. I want to trim this. The piece might be slightly long is the issue. Probably is slightly long in all honesty, because it's long probably by about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch almost. So let me just try to see if I can't trim this out. It's tough when you want to do skin cuts of just 1/8 of an inch here, but I'm just going to give it a go, because I want to try to see it walked out on me. I tried to make that cut, and I don't have the clamp on it, and this is why it's very difficult to try to do a skin cut. Just a small cut, just 1/8 of an inch. It's very tough, especially with this tool. Let's see if I got it. It's close enough. What I can do is I can just take this in like that, and I can do it like that. That's fine. That section is fine. So now we'll go ahead and anchor this in. Okay, now for our test, we want to carry this down, and let's just say we want a piece that's about 20 inches just for this next sample piece. So we want to put in a piece 20 inches, and we want it to be a low level piece coming down. Okay, you'll notice that with the straight cut, if I just put this in like this, I would have pretty decent results here, but I would have this gap right there. Let me show you how I can eliminate this gap, so this way you would not even have this gap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here and I'm going to flush cut that down like best. So that's straight. And now with this here, I need to cut this section back, whatever that distance is. That looks to be about just about a 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to take a 1/4 of an inch off of this. Okay, here's the section that I want to trim back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this tongue off away from here so I don't have to worry about it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in, but not cut all the way. I'm going to hold my knife blade back and I'm going to take off a 1/4 of an inch. Right about, trying to be as straight as possible. Okay, I was a little shy. Let's try that one more time. Alright, I actually messed up just a little bit and I put a little bit of a notch in there, but for this test piece I'm just going to leave that to show you what it is I'm talking about. Now with that notch I can come in there. Now I cut the notch a little bit too long, so I just need to trim that notch back a little bit. So we'll go ahead and just take off a smidgen of this knob. Bring that back in there, and we almost got it. Alright, the tool is walking on me a little bit, so I want to take a utility knife here. Just try to square that up. Looks like I took off too much. Now there's still a gap there. Now one thing I do notice is that this here is going to have to be rounded out. Let me just round that out slightly. And I could take off a little bit more of this to try to get that up, because I cut my notch too much. So let's try that again. Alright, now I see the issue. This is my issue here. You gotta really watch it. Okay. That's just about where I want it to be. I could trim that out just a smidge more. Alright, that's as close as I'm going to get it. I'm not going to fuss with that anymore. Let's get a nice 90 degree here. So there's a couple ways I could do this. I could do it with the 90 degree going that way, or I could take my level, just use it as a straight edge, put it there, put it here. The level is fine. So I'm just going to use that. That takes care of this piece transitioning from this top level coming down, doing a low level here with two separate fabrics coming in to feed it, making sure that I don't have any pinch points. So I would just want to slightly round this off to make sure that the fabric goes around here and around here just right. Alright, that's not bad. I forgot to cut this piece here flush down. I left that at a 45 degree, and I'll show you why this is a problem. When I go to bring in this piece to continue it on, you'll see that I'm not going to be able to put the fabric in there because of that right there. So what I'm going to do, because I have this stapled in and it's not like I can easily take this out, the best way for me to accomplish this now is to take the utility knife and to just score down like this, right about here. Let me put the knife, let me put the camera down. Alright, that'll work. By the way, see this fabric in here? When you want to clean those out, just run your utility knife in there. Alright, so basically that'll work. Let me go ahead and measure this out, cut it. Alright, so this piece is going to end up going here. So what I want to do is I want to take this, put it at the same plane that that's going to be, and then just take my pencil and mark over here where the 45 degree is. And then I'm going to cut this 45 degrees. Okay, that piece is in, this piece is in. Now on this next piece, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use a full length, I'm going to use a low leg here. So I have to get a piece with 245 degrees for the low leg. So let me go find one. Okay, I want to show you how I'm going to mark this next piece here, which is a low level piece, low leg piece. I got the 45 over there, and then over here I need to cut it somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my level, and I'm going to hold it up against this top piece here, and I'm going to take my pencil and make a line on that right there. Okay, now that I've got that line, what I can do is I can line up my right hand side, making sure that it is exactly where I want it to be, And let me show you what I mean by that. I want to really observe. I want this tip here to be matched with this, so that this is perfect. That's what I'm going for, to try to get that in there, just like that. That's the joint that I'm looking for. That's going to give me the results that I want. And then, and then on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark this on the other side to make sure that I got that. And let me show you how I do that. Okay, so we know that this side is good. Actually, I think what I'm going to have to do is, actually, you know what? I'm not sure if I need the pencil mark. What I can do is I can just measure this one here, and now I can cut that one right there at a 45 degree, and that should work. Let's give that a go and see if that'll actually work. Let's see here. Got so many lines, I'm getting confused. Okay, it's that one. Alright, let's try this. Alright, let me give that a shot. Let's see if I have it. This one here is a little fat here on the edge. I definitely need to trim that down. And it's a little long. I'm going to have to trim that out a little more. Looks like it's 1/8 of an inch long. Okay, I'm just kind of splitting the difference between the two, making sure I'm in. Everything looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and put this in. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now we want to build another one of these, but with better 45-degree corners. So we're going to take a stick of high-level material, and we're going to create one of those. We want the same dimensions of this one, so it is 3 inches by 4 3/4. So we want internal dimensions of 3 by 4 3/4. And let's go ahead and cut those. Alright, first thing we want to do is we want to cut a piece of recore for here. And remember, you want to be tight. So we're going to cut it right to the edge, which in this case is just under 22 3/4. And then here it looks like it's exactly 8 inches. 22 3/4 by 8. This is how I mark that. What I do is I write down 22 3/4 with a minus symbol because it's 1/16 of an inch less. So rather than remember to do the math, I can just quickly do 22 3/4 minus one line, which is 1/16 by 8 inches. There we go. This piece does not even need a staple. If I wanted to staple it in, I certainly could, but I honestly don't even see the reason to put a staple in this piece. I don't think it's going to be an issue, so I'm just going to leave this piece alone. Alright, now we want to put a piece here. We have to cut out for this too. Now I want to kind of use up the scrap pieces that we have, so what we'll do, let's see here. This piece here is at a beveled cut, and it's going the wrong way. I got a square cut here and here, but that puts that in the wrong location. Let's see how to do this. Okay, I think what we want to do is do possibly something like this. Alright, I think we'll do it like this, because we can notch these out to make that just right, and it'll fit right in there, and then we can put a strip here at the bottom and do it all like that. I think that would be the easiest way to do this. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, that is not bad. I'm pretty happy with everything except for I was a little tight on this piece here because I just want to scrunch that in and try that and see what that looks like with the fabric on it. Also, I have a gap here. I want to try to fill that gap in so that it looks like this. So I want to go get some sliver pieces and stick it in there and just to try to fill that gap in right now. Okay, now that the frame is built, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these Clorox wipes. I'm just going to take out one and just go around the frame real fast and get it nice and clean, because I don't want any fingerprints or anything to be transferred to my white material that I'm going to be using for the fabric. So I'm just going around this real fast, just cleaning it up. Just so that I can try to keep my fabric as clean as possible. So all that's good. Here inside, if there's any spots that I don't like, I'm going to try to get my fabric as clean as possible as well. I want the job to come out as good as possible, so I want everything to be clean. Got a small section here sticking out. Just trying to bury that in. Okay, that's that. Dry it out. Okay, now that's done. I got a couple of pieces of fabric here. This was from one of the other cuts, so I'll use that for the bottom section. And for the top section, this one here was one that was used on the sample piece over there. I'm going to use this one here. So make sure that it's going to fit. Yeah, we'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is I just want to get this one started with this tool. And now I'm just going to go around gently pushing this in, not all the way, but just enough to get it in. have a little bit of slack here, so I'm probably going to have to take this out and re-land this one. Now here, because I don't want to continue that on, I want to be careful on this corner. Okay, just like that. Now here, I have a bubble here, so I'm going to pull this out, if I can. I'm going to try to re-land this top section. Okay, try that one more time. Okay, I'm good. I'm good up to here. I can come back here a little bit. Now here's where I got that low leg. So I got to try to get that in. Getting it in the field is easy. The more difficult part is the corners. So let's see if I can do a corner going from a low leg to a high leg. I am kind of getting that. I'll show you the detail on that in a second. And here we want to stop right about like that. Let me show you what that looks like so far in detail. Alright, I want to show you what I did. So I went around with the hand tool and just pushed it into the seam all the way around so that hypothetically that's very close to the finished product. The tension on this fabric here looks good. The angle looks fine. It's not weird or anything. It's all level. So once I cut this fabric and then roll it in, this will land really, really nicely. Here's the tricky part. This section here, it's tricky because we're going from a high leg to a low leg, and I want to see how this is going to come out. Now I've got it rolled in there reasonably well on both sides, so I have to just cut the fabric and then see how the rest of this comes out. So I'm going to start cutting this fabric right now. Okay, so I've got it pushed into the frame as much as possible, just in this not as much as possible, but you know, enough so that it's in there snug. And this is what it looks like going around the perimeter. So this seam here I know is going to come out really well, and this one here is going to be fine. Here is going to be a trick because we're going to be going from the high frame. Well, I guess it should look just like this one here. If you remember correctly, this was the piece here that I put the V-notch in for the relief cuts. That's that extra fabric that has to go in there when I roll that in. So this is what the side looks like coming down the bottom. So the bottom leg is also a low leg. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut the fabric. The most difficult part of this job is going to be these three corners here. This shouldn't be too bad, and this will be easy, and this will be easy. Now here I'm doing a little bit of experiment because if I was going up against a wall like this, and I could only gain access to this right here, I want to see how much material I can get in there and roll that in. So a little bit of this is a little bit of experimentation at the same time. I'm going to start here at this corner, try and roll that in. If I was up against the wall, you'd never see it. I can still see it, so because I'm not up against the wall, but I'm just playing around with it just to tuck it in. That's not bad right there. Let's continue on, moving up the line. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright, let's continue on. All in all, not bad at all, okay? Let me show you a detail what this piece looks like underneath. I was kind of simulating or pretending I was going up against the wall, but let me show you how clean it is. It's not bad. It is really not bad at all. I think that it's not bad, but when you talk about corners and stuff, it's easier to work with this material, not the low legs material, but this material is easier to work with. You just have to, the reveal is different. Here you can see the plastic, whereas if I'm up against a wall here like this, you're gonna, it's just gonna be with the fabric going over the edge. So I think this is a cleaner look. It's more difficult to work with the low leg material that tucks in like this. You only have so much room that you can roll in there, and it's just more difficult to work with. But it is a cleaner look. Here's the corner to give you the comparison analysis of what it looks like. Actually, this corner will be better. It's better lit. So you'll see here the leg, flush leg, and the low leg. See here, the fabric comes all the way over. Here, you're going to see that plastic strip. Not that that's terrible, but it is what it is. All right, now that we've got all that done, let's cut that out and get that going. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut into the corners from this corner to this corner. So that's one corner. Trying to get it just perfect. That. Oh, shoot. That was a mistake. Oh boy. If this was not a test cut, I'd have to recut that. That was a mistake. I should not have angled my knife like that. It's not going to be terrible when I'm done, but I didn't mean for that to happen. Alright, lessons learned. Alright, let's go ahead and cut this like this, like this, like this, like this. We'll roll this in. This one's going to be a little funky because of that. I'd have to redo another piece of fabric if I was actually out in the field. Otherwise that slit is going to be shown. I can't help that at this point. Okay, so this would be the reason why you'd want to create an opening like that, so that if you want to put an outlet there. So everything was fine except for that one cut that I cut by accident. Doesn't look terrible, but that's not professional. Overcut the fabric. Boy, one little mistake right at the tail end of the project, and I'd have to redo this piece. Holy cow. So that sucks. But anyways, as far as the entire project goes, you remember I put a little filler strip in here? I know I put it there, but if the average consumer is coming up here and there's an outlet here, and as long as that rip wasn't there, I don't think anybody would know anything. It looks fine. Now, as far as the staples go, you remember I put several staples in here? I cannot see one staple. It looks really good. I did not need any staples in this top piece, so I didn't put any in the top piece, but top piece looks fine. I just see a little bit of a dark spot here, and I'm not sure if that's because the fabric was dirty or whatever, but it's really not bad at all. All the cuts came out fine. I guess, you know, I'm not an expert. This is just my third piece, my third test piece. This one here was my first one, I think. and this one was my second one. Well, I forget. That might have been my first one, and that might have been my second one. This is definitely my third one. And I am just trying different techniques here, as I've been explaining to you all along. But all in all, I think I'm ready to actually tackle something out in the field rather than just test strips, and go to work with this product. Okay, that's going to wrap up this project. I hope I've given you some tips if this FabricMate product is new to you as well as it is new to me, and I'm going through the learning curve on how to do the installation. Please leave your comments down below what you thought about the video and if it helped you at all, and also how your learning curve was when you started working with FabricMate. Now, one negative thing that I did not have is I didn't have a partner that was already experienced with this product that could show me side by side and how to do it. I really could only go off of the materials, off of the internet, off of YouTube, off of the download installation sheets, and just common sense and things like that in order to get to the point where I'm at. So it's not like I had someone else holding my hand to guide me through each step. So I hope that this was informative to you, especially if you're new to FabricMate. But I think it's a good product, and I think it has multiple applications. And that's it. Please click on like. Hope that you liked the video. Leave your comments down below. I want to read those comments about your projects, what you got going on, and how well you thought I did. And subscribe to my channel, KenTraining. See you later.